Okay, all you devils, how's it going out there? Sam here with you. It's a little afternoon here for me in Austin. So we'll get here to Bitcoin in a sec. Just first up, I wanted to thank Sensei Tudum for taking over last Friday while I was traveling. I thought he did a great job on that. Gave you all sorts of his expertise. And sadly, we haven't had much movement in the market since then. So this will probably be a relatively short update here. Now, I've been using this kind of as a longer term, and we're really just kind of looking for support and resistance here. And we've not had much movement since the last time we looked at it. So from off the low, the uptrend remains intact. We still have a series of higher highs, higher lows. Shorter term, we've got this now little corrective action here, and what do you call that other than just consolidation? So just to review here, I think most of you know this here. All I've done is just draw the volume profile from swing high to swing low, or pardon me, I drew it from this pivot high to this low, and then I drew it again from this low to this high. So that's what I framed here with this green area. Came back in. I got some fills there as we tagged the Vegas wave. God, I have been on vacation. Tagged the Vegas wave, and now it looks like perhaps we'll come down a little bit lower. Now, what's worth noting here is that we have yet to have a test of this very significant trend line. So if we're going to break down a little bit and come lower here, you can see a couple of obvious locations here. So here, 38, although, if we're going to get there here, we wouldn't quite line up with it. So potentially now we're moving up, and now we're into, that's the end of the year. So if we're going to test it, which there's nothing that mandates that we must test it. But if we were, you're kind of looking here, some of that would be kind of interesting right there. That'd put us, towards the end of this month. But I'd be watching for that. And as we look at the lower time frame, we'll see if we can get a little tighter on that projection here. But it's now out here at this distance, hard not to notice the 50 here and the low volume node that we get. Now note, that's from this low to this high, right? So here, the fact there was very little market acceptance here, just a very small amount of trading here before we rallied on, you can see that if this is going to come down here, we're going to stay in a corrective type of function here, and again, we could go below the trend line like nothing. It's there. You might anticipate some support there, but nothing says we couldn't get through it. So if so, this would be a likely spot where the market would be somewhat drawn to that. But if we break there, now we've got high volume down here at the golden zone. So there's plenty of potential risk here for any kind of a sell-off. Now it is, I think, encouraging given the BitMEX news that I'm sure every crypto trader saw yesterday, and then all the volatility we're seeing in the traditional markets, and Bitcoin has just maintained this, what are we going to call it, consolidation. Not much else to call it as we sit here. Now we have made the break from this regression channel. We gave that a little test, and now again that could be the kind of thing that would kick us down lower here, but right now we're just going sideways. So just to review here, I would keep this, always good to keep this out somewhere. So if the market does start coming down, you can quickly get to some of these potential support areas if you're looking for places to perhaps add. All right, I don't know there's much else we can really deduce here. And so gone sideways for 2 weeks. Okay, so let me go off to here. I'm just switching exchanges here just to get a second look at it here. This is Coinbase on an 8-hour. Just taking all of the, no Elliott here, just kind of looking for, is there any price action or anything that really stands out? These two are awfully similar, right? So this 3 here, and then this 3 here, yet again here, it gets my attention here that they're very similar. Now we get more of a sell-off here than we did, but now we've gone into this triangle again. So so which way would you assume that's going to break? Well, first is don't assume. Don't assume. We're in this consolidation here. If anything, you'd give the slight edge to the bulls here, given the longer term trend. But there's now if we pull it from the low, you get right up to that high. I'm pretty tight there, 38.50. Again, we know this is the low volume node here if I was drawing it. Now here's visible range, so you get a better view of it. Oh, I suppose, and I think we've done this before, that little nugget right there at the 50 is kind of interesting. So if we're going to come down further, well, this would be, you'd want to use some fib wave relationships here, see if you could get some guidance as to where that could be going. And here's the 100. I mean, I suppose we could also check here. You know, I will typically, I'll look for as much confluence as I can find if there's anything else I'm missing. So here's the 2738 window right here at this 50, working off of this swing here. And then the larger one is from here. If I grab that low, you can see here we just tagged a 50. So there are actually a couple here, and when we get to the 60-minute, we'll look at that. But then here, now I'm just looking for things that might line up. Where can I find some confluence? So right here, I've got the algo target off of this 50. So, you know, as usual, we don't have to wonder what's going on there. We know there's an algorithm that's sold short there that's going to stay short till it gets to that target. But if there's potentially a measured move in there as well, right? So the 100, this range here, so that's you know, as I've mentioned a couple of times, I'm interested in being a buyer down here around 92, and then also down here around, if it's going to come lower, all of these would be potential areas to be looking to. Again, assuming you're looking to add to long-term holdings rather than swing trade, I'd be interested in adding to long-term positions here at 92 and 82. You know, at some point here, you know, it's a question of how much are you willing to absorb on the way down, because here's the 1618, 175 window at the golden zone here. So for me, I'm playing the long game here, so I'd be interested at each one of these levels if they were offered. So we'll see. It's a long way to go. Right? We're not even close. Right? First, let's see how this channel resolves. Again, this area is definitely of interest. This 9200 right here. I mean, I've got orders sitting there waiting to buy that there. Not massive size, but enough to where I'm interested down there. So let's go down to the 60 and see if we can pull anything out of this. There's a little bit down there, but it kind of caught my eye. I think the biggest problem in here is that we've got this very clear 5 that while you could force fit something in here, let's pull this off. You could force fit something in there, but I prefer not to. Right now, this is what concerns me on the bull case. Right there. That's clearly a 5. So, I mean, could you wedge something in there and call this an ABC? Yeah, you could, and it doesn't finish beautifully. The 1, 2, you're going to have to pull the 3, 4 out of that. So it's not a great looking. The subdivision of it is not beautiful, but the broader stroke here that's clearly a 5, right? And we break the golden zone. I think we go 786 here from this low to this pivot here, so we don't quite make 786. But this is of concern to the bull case in terms of any short-term swing trading. Let's pull that off. So this gets my attention. So right off the bat, you're looking at that. Okay, well, did we finish something or did we start something? Well, this is. We go into this double top up here. Well, it's really, what do we hit it now? 1, 2, a little shy here, but really a triple top. So you can't ignore the possibility that that's starting something. Now we've come up here. It could be here. All right. So now do we need to finish something here? Well, the doubling of this channel here has remained pretty consistent. Just putting the channel up here on this little 3 wave that kicked us down here, and then doubling the channel again. So if I do it, all I'm doing is just taking this and putting it right on. I'm just doubling that channel, and that has held rather nicely here. So no bodies have been that we've cut into. So this is wick. This is wick. This is clearly an area that would be of potential interest here if we squeeze it in. That's that. Well, here we're just at, this is 99.07 here. So this would be. You know, interesting if just the support here would be enough to hold it. Now, I got to go to a 2-hour here, see if I can get a little more context. So if we're going to break there, now we start coming down. Well, here's that 38, here's 92, 82. Starts to come down. So you could really, if you wanted to do all of this as rather significant level of support, and you can see here all the volume profile here. So we know there's likely, because of all of this chop, right, similar to what we're doing here, depending on how long this is going to last. But all of this area would be of interest, right? You know there's going to be longs here that'll be defending, right? You can just see, right? It's not hard to deduce that, right? They're up here, they're going to come down, they're going to defend, just as they defended right here. Doesn't mean they can't get through it. So, but if it does get down here, if we start coming down pretty aggressively, there is definitely some risk here. Technically, just looking at how that might play, you can't ignore it. But again, we're not there yet. So just sitting here looking at this, if this is going to break, this would be significant. If this is going to break here, and we're going to start to push down here, and we take out this low after that 5. If we're coming down a little further, well, now you got to try and see what kind of Elliott count could we piece together here that might be helpful in terms of suggesting where that might be headed. Well, all right. So now here on the this is 60-minute back to Bitstamp here. Well, if we can cobble together an Elliott count here, we have something we can work with here. It's not gorgeous, but I think you can work with an A, B, and then a C into this low. The reaction here plays fairly well, and then we get a technical pivot here. So I'm just looking at this with a price action lens. So coming right back up to the prior support becomes the resistance. But additionally, of course, you'd want to check for how the algos were responding there. So we come right to the 50, but we've actually get this right, tighten that up just a touch. All right, so get those right on there. Get out of there. It's pain that's always there. All right, so I've got this trend line here that we talked about right there. Here's our doubling of our channel. Now, if that's an ABC that completes, and then here's our corrective wave, well, we can probably work that into a 3, right? So it looks like we can work an ABC into that there. So you could kind of put this together here as an A, a B, and a C into an X wave. So it looks like that's setting up. Now it's not ideal. All right, so we go WX, and we'd be looking for the Y down here. And now, why do I say that? Well, and I just had this conversation with a member. So ideally, in a double zigzag here, so I put that. Let me get that. Let me fatten that up a little bit, and let's put a. Here we'll put it in yellow. Ideally, you'd break this channel, all right, but we're not going to get that opportunity. So a little bit of a fudge might be working with a regression channel. So working from this pivot to this low, if I do that in a regression channel here, where I'm getting the majority of it here, well, now we break that part of that channel, which I don't have issue with that, right? Purists might have a problem with that, but I don't. So we come to the 50. So we know we get algo participation here, but additionally, there's confluence there, because if I use the secondary pivot and pull that down, now we're right to a golden zone. So I've got this nice confluence point right here. All right, so we come up, we break the regression channel, I get a 3 into a 50 and a golden zone. Now here's what I want you to draw your attention to. Well, look where this cluster here, whether I'm targeting, whether I'm using the 50 from the dominant or the 618 from the golden zone, that we'll hear this nice little cluster of targets down here. So now this starts to come together with an Elliott count. And I know that's very hard to see, right? It's always easier when you draw it on your chart. So let's pull that off. Even I'm going to just take these off for the time being. All right, so we can put this together as a potentially, now we've got a W. As I said, now this is clearly a 5 to me. What I don't think we're doing is 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, is that possible? Well, if it's up here, we'll be back trying to consider that, but that looks less likely, which is that's all we ever get, is what looks probable, not anything more than that. We just don't, market doesn't give us anything more than that. But that's clearly a 3. This looks like a solid 3. Again, technical pivot here. Now I get a 5. So it's not hard to think A there, right? Potentially, we'll have to see. It's B. So I'd be looking something like that. And then I would be looking for, okay, well, let's see how that swing relationship would look if that's the W and this is my X here. Get it right on that pivot. If this is going to hold as my X, and this is my A coming down here, this is my B. Well, looking for something like that. Well, here would be 100. So I'm not getting, hang on. I'm not getting, that complete confluence here, but then I look again, you got to keep looking. What else is there? Well, if I take the length of this proposed A wave, and if that is going to hold as my B wave, okay, well now look what I get here. So it's a little hard to see. So here's the 1618, 175 window right here where I've got this cluster. Now look at the confluence that's developing here. So if I put it back together from the top to the swing low, right? So there's that target splitting the 1618 to the 175. Now if I use the secondary target, well, here from here, right? Here's the golden zone. Here are those two targets. So I've got the 1618 of this. I know that's very, very hard to see. But here's the swing pivot going to the 1618 where I am on top of the other two targets. So if I'm looking at this with my Elliott hat on going, well, that's a pretty substantial amount of confluence down here. And where are we? 9,200. Now, could it break lower? Of course, right? Here's the 100, here's the 50. We could go lower than that, but it's really a function now of what comes off of this. If that's going to play ball, then we need a 5 coming down here, right? We got to get something like that. It completes the double zigzag. You'd be anticipating a reaction. Now, that doesn't mean sit down here and back the truck up, but that means certainly I would want to see the reaction here. If I get that reaction, then that first retrace. That gets interesting, right? Can we start the trend up again? So this is definitely an area of interest. I'd be really, if we're going to soften here, of course, going into the weekend, this down here at this 92, 90, we'll call it really even from 9,000 to 9,300, anywhere in that range. I sure would have some alerts going off as we're approaching that if we're going to go down that direction. I know that's very difficult to see, so just let me clean this up a little bit, but I would encourage you guys to do the exact same thing. Now, it is interesting. Let's see if I can do it a 2 hour here. If you're just doing it off of price action, now here's a nice example here where working through all the fib swings and then just looking at the price action here. Where's support? Where's resistance? Where are you going to anticipate? Look how that all lines up. Let's see if there's any geometry here. I would be looking for something corrective. Right, since we're right now assuming this is corrective, well, you can't get there, so I'd go to the shift on this, and that would put me again. I'm getting a little bit of potentially now. Let's tighten that up here. A little bit of confluence here on this, and let's get you everybody tightened up here and move it around. So it's now I'm on a 2 hour. Let's bring you back down. Everybody tighten up there. All right, so gives me that nice target down here. So if we're going to come off of this, boy, I like the look of that. Even if I had some wicks come down past that, right, that wouldn't scare me out of that trade. I'd be looking for anything down here. Now that looks like coming into third or fourth week of this month, so we could stay soft. That would complete the Elliott count here of that of this swing structure here. So it would give us a predictable pattern where we know, well, if this is going to go 535, well, we can anticipate at the very least a reaction there. Now you put that together with all of this structure, the high volume node here, you can start to put together a plan. Well, if we do come down here and we get that reaction, well, we're looking for that trend to carry on. So a couple of things has to happen. First, we've got to get out of this tendency right now. In this shorter term swing, we've got a series of lower lows and lower highs. Well, we got to break that. So you can't, if you're really waiting for that trend to confirm, as much as a confirm as we ever get, you'd certainly want to look for something to at the very least give you a series of higher highs and higher lows to say, okay, now we're back on an uptrend, and right, just the same pattern would start all over again. So you've got a nice combination here of geometry, just straight fib and algo plays with some of the more common fib relationships all lining up down here at 9,200. So I don't think there's any advantage in looking to be adding here right now. I mean, maybe on the shorter time, here I'm on a 2 hour, maybe on the 30-minute, 15-minute, if you like trading in that kind of a smaller time frame capacity, I'm sure there's good little swing trading down there, but that's not really what I'm doing. I'm looking for longer term play. It's a long game, right? So looking for longer term places to be strategically adding. Any of these all look, well, I mean, to a point, right? All of these look very good, but this is particularly juicy. All right, so let's see. I don't know if there's much else to add here, but yeah, I think that covers it. I don't know what else I could add into that. I mean, really, we just sit here and look at it. We're just in a big, just right now as we sit here, it's just between support and resistance. We're just in a box until we get out of this. And I would not be panicking if we come down here. That's not skies falling. That's whoa. Did I just get the opportunity to buy Bitcoin under 10 and at a technically significant level, right? That would heads up if we get that opportunity. All right, that's pretty much all I can offer to you today on Bitcoin. Listen, don't feel like you need to be in the market all the time, right? As I often say, right? Putting the puzzle together, that's the fun part. having the discipline to not feel like you need to be in the market all the time, or to not overtrade or just buy it because you're bored. I mean, those are all the kind of things that get you in trouble. So if you're not in a position, or you're, as I often suggest, separate between your trading capital, your trading Bitcoin, and then your longer term holding Bitcoin. There's no need to be in the market here or adding to anything. Wait for your pitch, right? Just wait until it sets up the way that you like it. Now, this is where I like it. If you like it in other places, I mean, it's individual preference. But the way that we would teach it, this 5 followed by a 3, that would be worth waiting for to me. So just a little fuel for thought there. All right, I think that will cap it there for the day. Now, I'm going to be back. A couple of members did post some charts on. All right, as with our new format with asking you guys to post your charts before I look at them, I think I like that, although it looks like that has thinned out the number of requests we've gotten. All right, so I'll be back to take a look at those alts that were posted up by other members. And with that, members, I'll be back to talk to you shortly. And if you're up watching this on YouTube, we'll catch you next Friday. Okay, guys, later.